Hello, this is Anna Maria. Thank you so much for watching my gardening tips in Antigone's Greek cooking channel. Today I'm going to do a gardening tip about how to test your soil. And first of all, why would you want to test your soil? Well, one reason is because you don't want to use excessive fertilizers in your soil. If you do, they may run off and contaminate the environment, which we wouldn't want. Another reason would be because your plant isn't growing well or not flowering well or not producing fruit well. Well, we don't just want to let that happen. We want to figure out why it's happening and fix the situation so we can eat that yummy fruit, we can eat that yummy vegetable, we can enjoy those beautiful flowers. So those are the reasons you would want to do a soil test. What you need to know is what we're checking for in a soil test. So what are we checking for? What are we testing for? And the first thing we test for is called pH, and that's a measure of the acidity and the alkalinity of the soil. So the pH levels go from 1 to 14, 1 being the most acidic and 14 being the most basic. And different plants thrive at different pH ranges. So if you know the pH range that your particular plant thrives in, for example, vegetables, a lot of them thrive at a pH from 6.0 to 6.8. If the pH is in that range, then they have access to all those great nutrients that they need to grow. But if the pH is outside of that range, let's say your pH is 7.2 and you don't know it, then unfortunately they won't have access to all the nutrients that they need, and you'll see that they're not growing well. Well, you won't know why unless you decide to put the effort, and it doesn't take much effort. I used to think it took a lot of effort, but it's really easy unless you put in the effort to do a soil test. And if I can do one, you can do one really easily. So, and the other thing that we're testing for besides pH are we're testing for 3 main nutrients that every plant needs, and they are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And you'll often see those 3 nutrients listed on a bag of fertilizer. So I'm going to show you my bag of Happy Frog. I get this at a local gardening store. Happy Frog has, you can see, 7, 4, 5, its ratio. The first number refers to the nitrogen number, 7. The second number is the phosphorus number, 4. And the last number is the potassium number, which is 5. Plants need nitrogen because it's a main component in chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is what's responsible for taking the water and the carbon dioxide that a plant gets and converting it into energy that the plant uses. So that's important. Phosphorus is really another important nutrient. It's important to have a really strong root system and for the plants to grow well and flower well, flower and fruit well. And potassium is really important because it can help increase yields and give you bumper crops. So isn't that what we all want? It also is important, it plays a very important role with insect and disease resistance. So all 3 of these nutrients, the main thing to remember is when we do a soil test, we're going to test for pH, so that's 1, and we're going to test for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. We're going to test for 4 things, and the plants need all of those 4 things that we're testing for. So here we are in my garden, and you can see that I've made not just one hole, but many different holes. There's nothing planted yet. You can see that I have made paths with some landscape fabric and some wood mulch, but I haven't planted anything yet. If you see something behind me, that's my neighbor's garden. It actually looks really nice. But I have not planted anything. I'm just starting this out, and that's why I'm checking my soil. You can see that I have numerous holes and not just one hole, and the purpose of that is because it's better to check your pH and to check for nutrients in a lot of different places in your yard than in just one. It will give you a better idea of what's going on. And we kind of want dry soil for this. I'm going to put the dry soil into this container. This wants you to dig this test 4 inches down, which if you look on my shovel, that's about to right here, the first screw on my shovel. So I'm going to just put my shovel in the ground, dig to that first screw, move the soil out of the way, and it wants you to move out. This is a big clump of clay because in Virginia we have a lot of clay soil. Break up the clump of clay, remove any rocks, which there aren't that many rocks here. Although this is rocky soil, but here's one rock, see that? So I can just move that out of the testing area. And I'll take this soil that's from 4 inches down and put it on my shovel and put it in here. And it's as simple as that. And now I'm going to move to another hole and do the same thing. So I'll show you one more hole. So here is another spot in my garden. And what I'm going to do is again dig 4 inches down, which is about this first screw on my shovel. And here we go, digging 4 inches down. I'm going to move this soil out of the way. You can see I have rocks there. And it's this soil that's about 4 inches down that I want to take and put in my container. So could even take some more of it. And after I have taken samples, these 4-inch samples from 4 inch down, from all the different holes that I showed you in my yard, which I've already done, and I will show you that up there how to test it. But what you would want to do would be to mix the soil sample up like this. You would want to take the rocks out of it. So that's all. So what you want is more like just the finer particles. So that's what I would do. If I would break up the little pieces of clay that I find, because this is clay soil. Some soils are sandy and some are loamy, but this is clay. And you can see I'm just taking all those little rocks out of the soil. So, and that's what I would do. I would mix it up, take all the rocks out, and I'm going to show you what it looks like after I've done that and how to test it with the test kit. First we're going to test for the pH, and the first thing I'm going to do is open the canister. This is its little test chamber. So this is where I want to put the soil. I want to put the soil up to the little black fill line. To get the soil out of my bucket, I'm going to use this little 1/4 teaspoon that's plastic. Here's my bucket of soil that I collected yesterday, in the same way that I showed you how easy it was to dig 4 inches down to get your soil, and all I did with this was take it from every section and all those different holes that I showed you in my garden. This is soil from all the different holes mixed together, and I took the rocks out carefully, and as you can see, it's kind of crumbly. Well, it doesn't have that many rocks in it, so I'll just take a little bit of it, and I will go ahead and put it into this test chamber and fill it to the black fill line. I like to stick this part of the the teaspoon in here to kind of mash it down a little bit. And see how I've kind of mashed it down a little bit, but you can use any way you feel comfortable to get that soil filled up to the black line. That's the main thing. Then you take the dropper that's included in this kit and you get some water. And so I'm going to take the water that I have in my watering can. See, I have water in there and I'm going to fill it up to the fill line. So see, I'm going to fill it up all the way to this black line over here. It might take a few dropperfuls of this water to do that, but it's pretty easy to do. Then the instructions say to take one of the capsules. So there's since this is a green pH test, there's a green pH capsule included in the test. And all you do is put this capsule horizontally above the smaller test chamber where we have the soil and the water. I find it difficult to break it open with my hands. So what I do is I take a little pair of scissors and I break the capsule open about halfway. See how that powder came out? And then I open it the rest of the way with my hands and shake all the powder out. It's a tiny thing, so it's not the easiest, but you can, if I can do it, you can definitely do it too. So here we go. I've shaken all the powder into that. Then I'm going to put my green lid back onto this. See how easy this test is? I actually prefer testing the soil this way, but anyway, we will shake it up really, really well, and then we will leave it for a minute to see what it does. And now it's been a minute, and you can see that what we're going to do is read this test chamber. So we're looking for the color of this liquid, and we're going to compare it to the colors on this side. This says that the pH of my soil is slightly acid, so about 6.5, which 6.0 to 6.8 is perfect for vegetables. If I really wanted to be the most accurate, I would send it to the extension, the soil, to get tested. But I'm hoping that this is correct. It says that it's slightly acidic and they grow well from 6.0 to 6.8. So this is showing me my soil would fit into that range. So that was the pH part of the test. Now I'm going to show you how you would test your soil for the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Now I'm going to show you how to test for the nutrients in your soil, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that I was telling you about before. And to do that, you need a ratio of 1 part soil to 5 parts water. So I use this little blue cup and I fill it all the way to the top with soil, and then I'm going to dump it into a bucket and fill this same cup 5 times with water and dump it into the same container. So it needs to be 1 part soil to 5 parts water. And it's good if you do take the sample from a lot of different areas in your yard, not just from only one area, to get a better idea. So yesterday when I did it, I took it from all 10 to 12 holes. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to take it from 3 holes and fill up this cup with soil so that it can be mixed with water for the test. So here's how I would take it from the first hole. Here's the hole that I dug. And you can see here is about 4 inches down. 4 inches down is to this first screw. So I will take the shovel, and if I were digging about 4 inches down, it would be about the depth of what this hole is already. So it's this that I'm going to take out. See that stuff? And we'll go ahead and put it in the cup and move on to the second hole. Here is the second hole. So I'm just going to dig again to this first screw, which is about the depth of what this hole already was, because I have dug in it, as I said. And I'm going to take this, all of these soil from about that depth, take the big rocks out, and I'm going to dump it into the cup, and we'll move on to the third hole. Just like that. See how easy that is? If I can do it, you definitely can do it too. Okay, and now I'm going to move on to the last hole. See, this is so much fun. And you, again, are going to dig 4 inches down into this dirt. And I'm going to get this, see that darker color of soil? That's darker than what was on top, and it's definitely clay soil. This is a huge rock. I'll take that out. This is just clay. So there it is. We filled our sample all the way to the top with soil, and then what I'm going to do is pour it into this container. If I had done all of those samples like I did yesterday from every single hole in my yard, I would be mixing it up really well, like I'm doing here. I would be making sure to be really careful to remove all of the rocks from the sample. If you have sticks, you can take them out too. There's another rock. And after I had done all of that, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to take every single rock out here, but you get the idea. You just want it to be fine particles as much as possible. That's our 1 part soil. Now we're going to fill our cup with water. So here's 1 cup water. Here's 2 cups water. Here's 3 cups water. Here's 4 cups water. And here's 5 cups water. By the way, I got this gallon container from Walmart, so it's really easy to get. Okay. And then you stir this around with your shovel or whatever you want to stir it with. And the important thing about it is you let it sit. And for my soil, I actually let it sit overnight, because what you want is for the sediment to settle to the bottom and to have this clear liquid, as clear as it can possibly be on the top. And I'm going to show you what it looks like after it's sat overnight. And I'm going to show you how to test for those nutrients. Now I'm going to show you how to use the test kit to check for your nutrients. It's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This is what the soil looked like after it sat overnight in the water. So you can see that it's clear on the top. And the sediment has settled to the bottom, and that's what you want. You want this liquid to be clear on top. So we're going to use this liquid in order to test for our nutrients. So we're going to test for nitrogen in the purple one, phosphorus in the blue one, and potassium in the orange one. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dropper and I'm going to put it into the liquid, and I'm going to fill up all of these chambers to the fill line with this beautiful, see how clear it is? This beautiful stuff that came to the top. The sediment has all settled to the bottom. Now I'm just going to fill them up to the fill line. This is the fun part. I think that once you do enough of these tests, you'll actually, or start doing these tests, you're going to enjoy them. And see, I overfilled it just a little bit, so you can take it out, take some out to get it more to the fill line. So this is about exactly at the fill line. And go ahead and do my phosphorus too. And use the dropper to get it to the fill line. Okay, now this phosphorus blue one is to the fill line. Now we're going to do the potassium and get fill that up with this beautiful clear fluid. This really is the fun part. It's not so much fun digging in the clay soil when it's not very well amended, but it is fun to do these tests for sure. The first test we're going to do is the nitrogen test, and just like when I did the pH test, I'm going to take a capsule out of the test kit, and it's the purple capsule that goes with the nitrogen. I'm going to hold it horizontally over the test chamber and use my scissors to cut the capsule open just the tiniest amount so that I can finish getting it open with my fingers. I will crack it open the rest of the way with my fingers to get all of that test powder out. And then I will cap it with the purple cap, shake it up, and let it sit for 10 minutes to read the result. To the phosphorus sample, I did the same thing. I just broke it open a little ways with my scissors, and I'm opening up the rest of the way with my hands. Most of the powder went into the test chamber. I'm going to put the blue cap onto the phosphorus, and then I'm going to shake it up, and we'll wait for 10 minutes and read the results. And now I'm going to do the potash or potassium test the same way as I did the other tests. I'm going to hold the capsule over the test chamber and take these scissors just to cut a little ways through that little test chamber to release the powder. Then I'm going to do the rest with my hands. I'm going to crack the capsule open, let the powder run into the test chamber, put the lid on, and shake it up like we did with the other ones. Okay, now it's been 10 minutes and we're going to read the results of our test. This is the moment that I've been waiting for. So the first test I'm going to read, actually let's do the nitrogen first, is the nitrogen test. And what you do is you look and see what color this looks like. And look at this. It's not anywhere near purple, which is pretty much what I expected for my soil because, as I said, I haven't planted anything in it. I've never done a garden there. We did a few tomatoes there many years ago, but it's been a long time. And so there's no nitrogen in there because you can see the color is pretty clear. It's not anywhere near purple. So my soil's nitrogen depleted. What does that tell me? That tells me that in order for my plants to grow well, like I want them to, I'm going to have to add nitrogen sources to my soil. Okay, the next nutrient we'll check is the phosphorus. And as you can see, this reading is also pretty clear. So my soil is also deficient in phosphorus in addition to being deficient in nitrogen. So that means I'm going to have to add a source of phosphorus, and I'll show you that in a future video. And again, if you haven't grown stuff there in a place ever or for a long time, your soil's rocky and clay, you know, you would expect that it needs stuff, and that's why it's important to do a soil test to see what your soil might need in order for your plants to grow really well. Now, the potassium test, actually, to me, this shows adequate to sufficient. So that's really good news. That means I don't really have to worry about adding potassium to my soil. What I am going to do is add sources of nitrogen to the soil and sources of phosphorus to the soil. Don't think I'm going to need to do anything about the potassium. So that's very helpful, and I will show you in future videos what I'm going to add to put nitrogen and phosphorus into my soil. So thank you so much for watching this video about how to do a soil test. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give it a like, and I would welcome your comments about it. I am reminding you that, hey, if I can do a soil test, you can definitely do a soil test too. Happy gardening. I hope you have beautiful vegetables, fruits, or plants this season. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to catch you again. Bye.